Have you ever wondered what might happen if an ordinary guy, dare I say an old guy like me, gets into one of the most exciting road cars that there is? Watch this. Roll the edit. I have never been so thrilled, excited, terrified as I have been since I climbed into this Caterham 7. And let me tell you, I am so glad that this car can exist. The barking exhaust drowns out your voice, the air roars past you, stones and flies assault your exposed body parts, and you feel alive. You'll drive this car with your mouth shut, brow furrowed in concentration, steering wheel firmly gripped, and you'll arrive at your destination buzzing while at the same time marvelling that someone still manufactures a product as pure and as uncompromised as this. In an instant you feel at one with the Caterham 7. You're an intimate component, a part of every action and reaction. You actually feel unintimidated despite the intensity and despite being acutely aware that nothing sits you closer to the road and closer to the action. You marvel at the feedback coming from the tyres you can see turning just ahead of your toes, feeling every bit of the tarmac telegraphed up through the seat of your pants. It's all consuming. Each drive is a frazzling, draining, exhausting, fast-forward experience. The constant poundings and pulsations, working your muscles, filling your senses, you will arrive everywhere feeling wired and alive. So if it's driving you like, you'll want one. If like me you've browsed the Caterhams on offer on Auto Trader and other websites, you may be wondering how the model range works. Well, from around 2013 onwards we get 5 core models, starting with the zippy little 80 brake horsepower 160, followed by the 270, then the 360 and then the 420 models, and then it's all topped off by the demonic 311 brake horsepower 620. The model names are loosely derived from their power to weight ratios. The bigger the number, the more powerful the car, and the further up the price range it sits. Each example can be had in S-Spec, which is aimed mostly at road use, or R-Spec, which is tuned up for the track. Plus there's a wide body option for most models, which is known as the SV body. Caterham offer a mix of options for your 7, including doors and a roof. I kid you not. Adjustable suspension, sequential gearboxes and a lowered floor to help taller drivers fit in. The 360S with wide SV body and lowered floors we have here today feels right for the road. The suspension is unexpectedly compliant, the seats are supportive, and surprisingly an ageing driver like me is not suffering any discomfort at all. The tuned 2-litre Ford Duratec motor is always punchy despite its 143 pound-feet of torque, only arriving at a high 6,100 RPM. Its full-on 180 brake horsepower is dished up at a howling 7,300 RPM, and with a whole assembly weighing just 560 kilograms, that equals a 0 to 60 time in just 4.8 seconds, and a theoretical top speed of 130 miles per hour, a velocity you may never reach as the forces of aerodynamic physics start to fight against this 56-year-old shape. That rorty engine will also attract attention. Okay, that 180 brake horsepower may have lower end hot hatchbacks sniggering into their particulate filters, but in the featherweight 7 it delivers towering helpings of grunt and performance. It's a screamer, but also a slugger too. At low engine speed it shoves the 7 along with deep lunged urgency, and it always has that soundtrack to match, a deep, bassy, low rev rumble that gives way to a serrated howl from 6,000 RPM onwards, all accompanied by the rudest of pops and crackles on the overall. Caterham 7s are a rare sighting, and when spotted they stand out, partly because they look like a race car and partly because they look hilarious amongst rows of bland hatchbacks and enormous SUVs. Could using the 7 as a day-to-day car be feasible? Well, yes of course, provided you have the optional full weather equipment. And what if the weather turns bad? Well, if you have ever mastered the art of erecting a tent, then putting on the doors and fixing the hood in place is a cinch. Once the vinyl is all fitted, you will find ingress and egress quite unlike any other road-going vehicle. I found it to be perfectly doable, fairly easy even. Well, not entirely dignified, but, well, certainly achievable. And should you decide to take your 7 shopping, and why wouldn't you, make sure you can remember where you have tucked it away. Can't see it? Well, here it is. We found you. And now, let's pull out of this parking space while at the same time having absolutely no way of knowing what might be coming along. What we have therefore is a mode of transport that looks so low, so purposeful, so extraordinary, it will attract attention. People will look. You might even find yourself conversing with curious passers-by who could perceive you to be either a motorsport driver or some kind of motoring eccentric. If you happen to see one, consider that low, purposeful stance with its suggestion of latent intent. And if you've never driven a Caterham, take it from me, you really should change that. And I promise you, you'll never feel the same way about driving again. All in all, Caterham cars are an anachronistic minnow in today's hypertech automotive ocean. What other company produces cars without any safety gear and has doors as a pay-for option? But its cars still deliver a pure and immersive driving experience that at the price no other car maker comes anywhere close to matching. So if you fancy a slightly uncomfortable, not so user-friendly, captivating, enthralling, terrifying piece of motoring fun, look no further than the Caterham 7